Can Bitcoin realistically reach $1 million per coin by 2030? Well, in today's video, I want to investigate that very topic with you. Spoiler alert, I believe that it can. My name's Lark. Every day I make videos talking about cryptocurrency investing. If you like that topic, like stay up to date with what is happening in this fast moving cryptocurrency industry. Little tap and thumbs up button would be super freaking awesome. By the way, every single week, my team and I make Wealth Mastery. It's a cryptocurrency investor report. We talk about NFTs, we talk about DeFi, we have altcoin reviews, interviews, tips, tricks, news, and much more. You can sign up for free using the link down below in the description. Now, recently, Cathie Wood, the CEO of ARK Invest, she came out and reiterated her call for $1 million Bitcoin by 2030. Now, this chart here basically breaks down their moon math of how we get $1 million Bitcoin by 2030. Now, look, I'd be happy with even a $500,000 Bitcoin, to be honest. But if you don't believe in the $1 million Bitcoin, and I believe in the $1 million Bitcoin, and I believe that yes, indeed, it can happen by 2030. Remember, we have 3.4 billion more people estimated coming into the market by 2030. Even if that number is only half right, we can still get to $1 million Bitcoin. Even if that number is only a quarter right, we can still get to $1 million Bitcoin. And really, if you don't believe in the $1 million Bitcoin, what are you even doing here, man? Come on, the $1 million Bitcoin, it is a way of life. A way of life. Anyway, the moon math here breaks down a lot of great reasons why we could see the $1 million Bitcoin. In fact, their number is $1.36 million per Bitcoin. But they look at the remittances, markets, the M2 supply of money, so looking particularly at emerging market currency, economic settlement, nation-state treasury, seizure-resistant asset, institutional investment, corporate treasury, and digital gold. So they kind of break all this different stuff down here, the market cap potential of these different use cases, and if Bitcoin can capture said percentage of those use cases, which I think is a very real possibility. But so much has been happening beyond that, and I want to talk about those stories in particular with you today, because when you start to look at a holistic view of the adoption and all the stuff that's happening for Bitcoin, you realize $1 million Bitcoin, it's not a fantasy, it's when, not if, it's going to happen. Here's an interesting one to start off with for this conversation today is the potential rise of the Petro Bitcoin. Oil's not going anywhere anytime soon, and Russia made the announcement, the shot heard around the world, if you will, when they said a couple of weeks ago that they are going to consider accepting Bitcoin in exchange for oil and gas. Now, if that happens, it's big beyond belief, because it essentially is a nation state saying, one of the world's biggest oil producers and one of the world's biggest gas producers, by the way, saying Bitcoin is accepted here for the most valuable commodity on the planet. The implications of this are beyond belief. And if Russia starts doing it, how long is it going to be before Saudi Arabia also says, yeah, we'll take some Bitcoin too? How long before Iran says, yeah, we'll take some Bitcoin too? How long before Venezuela or Nigeria or other countries come on board and say, damn, all these other guys are accepting Bitcoin for their oil and gas, we better do it too? It could happen real fast. Real fast. The Petro Bitcoin, man, that one thing alone could push Bitcoin to $1 million, and Cathie Wood doesn't even contemplate this possibility in her report there. Now, another thing I want to talk about is the growing of the Lightning Network for Bitcoin. So we saw an 800% increase in Bitcoin Lightning payments, with 80 million people now using the Bitcoin Lightning Network. So this allows you to send Bitcoin basically instantaneously and basically free, which is really cool, because if you use the main chain for Bitcoin, you might be looking at, $3, $5, $10, whatever, to send a Bitcoin payment, and it takes like an hour to reach its destination. Not the best user experience when it comes to buying a cup of coffee or a beer or whatever else using Bitcoin. The Lightning Network, though, seeing massive adoption, which I'm very bullish on, because this is how Bitcoin goes mainstream. It goes mainstream at layer 2. Layer 1 is reserved for, countries buying $1 billion of oil or something and then paying for it in Bitcoin. Layer 1 is reserved for moving $10,000 from point A to point B. It doesn't have to be as big as an oil transaction. But if you want to do everyday stuff, it's the Bitcoin Lightning Network, man. That's where it's going to be happening at, right? So this is layer 2 Bitcoin, piggybacking off of the power and security of layer 1 Bitcoin. And we are seeing increasing retail adoption of Bitcoin overall. This article from Bitcoin Magazine, the Tennessee Titans have become the first NFL team to accept Bitcoin. We also see the Brazilian Wine Club is now accepting Bitcoin as payment on their mobile app. We also see the top Latin American delivery app is also, it's called Rappi, by the way, is now accepting Bitcoin as well. And those are just a few cherry-picked examples from the last, couple of weeks. We're seeing so much stuff. Shopify announced a Bitcoin Lightning integration recently. Every single day, we're getting news stories of new companies that are putting up the sign saying Bitcoin is accepted here. And every time that happens, it makes it more real for people. And we are moving very quickly towards a situation where Bitcoin is going to be an ubiquitous part of everyday life. Every business is going to accept Bitcoin at some point. And basically everybody's going to have Bitcoin in their digital wallets on their phones. What is the price of Bitcoin, may I ask you, when that becomes a reality? And that's a reality we're quickly moving towards. Tell you what, it's a hell of a bigger number than we have right now. That's what I'm going to say. Now, what about another major catalyst that in of itself has, I think, the potential to push us to $1 million Bitcoin, and that is the spot Bitcoin ETF. Now, recently we had a futures fund approved under basically a different set of rules compared to previous future funds, which would potentially apply more to a spot Bitcoin ETF, which got people very excited. Maybe the SEC is going to approve a spot Bitcoin ETF soon. We just got one in Australia a few days ago. And unfortunately, the American SEC continues to drag their heels and be woefully behind the times when it comes to regulating a spot Bitcoin ETF, which is the product that people want. People don't really want futures ETF products. They want real exposure to the real asset, not paper garbage. Investors aren't that dumb. They want the real deal. And people who don't want to go to Coinbase, maybe, they still want a spot Bitcoin ETF. Every survey, every report that has come out shows there is massive demand and desire for a spot Bitcoin ETF product in the USA, which is about 52% of the entire global equity markets. So an approval there would bring in literally trillions of dollars of new liquidity into the market. It would be massive beyond belief. Now, as a parallel, just so you can kind of understand the potential here, when a gold ETF was first launched in the USA back in 2004, gold rallied about 363%, basically going on a mega bull run for years straight. Now, to be fair, in the immediate aftermath, the price was a bit lackluster, but it really picked up after a few months and just went absolutely freaking crazy. Now, a similar thing for Bitcoin, yeah, that gets us, up to a few $100,000 per Bitcoin. But I think the demand for Bitcoin versus the demand for gold, especially from retail investors, but also institutional and corporations, all this stuff, it's massive right now. So we could see the percentage gains being even bigger than they happened for gold. Remember, the market of 2022 is very different from the market of 2004, especially when you consider all the digital access that people now have that they didn't really have back then. Next, let's talk about the legalization of Bitcoin, because we're seeing country-level adoption happening, and it's blowing my freaking mind. El Salvador, obviously, they were the first, but we have lots of other countries which have been talking about it. So we have a big push right now in Mexico to try and turn Bitcoin into legal tender there. How that's going to turn out is anybody's guess. It's a pretty big ask, and just because some senators want it doesn't mean the president's going to agree to it or the central bank's going to agree to it. But still, they're talking about it, which is important in of itself. Tonga, the small Pacific Island nation, they have come out and said that they would really like to adopt Bitcoin in just the way that El Salvador has, because they're a small country, very heavily dependent on remittances from abroad, and they want to cut out the middleman, essentially, because they're getting screwed by these remittance companies, and Bitcoin would offer a much clearer way to get more money into the hands of the people who actually need it, not into the hands of the remittance companies. So we see lots of these big stories happening. We see Brazil as well moving towards making major cryptocurrency legislation. Russia also moving towards making major cryptocurrency legislation. Currently, Ukraine recently announced major cryptocurrency legislation. So this is all, allowing for legal frameworks for people to be able to pay for stuff and accept cryptocurrencies, which it makes it real for people. It makes it real. No longer is it just some stuff sitting on the blockchain somewhere. You can actually go and buy stuff with it, and people can pay you for your services in it legally, right? I know that stuff happens in a lot of places now anyway, but legally, with a legal framework, makes a big difference and basically supercharges adoption to happen. And it's not just at the country level either. We see lots of adoption happening at the city level too. So for example, we have, these 5 cities here which have recently announced some form of Bitcoin adoption, whether that be you can pay your local taxes in Bitcoin, or like Lugano, Switzerland, where they went like full on Bitcoin is now legal tender in the city of Lugano in Switzerland. So you can pay for everything everywhere using Bitcoin. Awesome. Absolutely freaking awesome. Final thought here for today's video. I shared this chart the other day, but I just want to share it again. This is the Bitcoin balance on exchanges. It keeps going down all of the freaking time. Now, essentially, since the start of the year, we've seen an average of 1,000 Bitcoin a day leaving exchanges. Even in the current kind of bearish market conditions that we've seen, we are still outpacing the ability of miners to make new Bitcoin at just 900 a day. There simply is not enough Bitcoin for everyone. And then you fast forward a few years. Remember, we're talking about by 2030, right? So in 2024, we have next Bitcoin halving. We go down from 900 a day to 450 new Bitcoin a day. 2028, we go down to 225 new Bitcoin a day. 2032, 112.5 new Bitcoin a day. Demand keeps rising, adoption keeps rising, the legal framework keeps becoming clearer and clearer, and yet the new supply keeps falling. The amount of Bitcoin on exchanges keeps falling. Yeah, I'm holding long term. I'm chilling on my Bitcoin. I'm going to keep buying more because $1 million Bitcoin is not a fantasy. It's a reality, and it's coming. You have the opportunity right now to be able to buy an asset that is going to be worth $1 million each one day for less than a 20th of that price currently. Smells like an opportunity to me. But hey, what do I know? I'm just talking about cryptocurrencies on the internet. You let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching today's video, and peace out till next time.